If you told someone 2 years ago that the Detroit Pistons would have the best record in the East, they would have laughed at you. But here we are. They're at the top of the Eastern Conference. They're one of the best teams in the NBA, leaving teams like the Boston Celtics and Knicks behind them. And this wasn't some slow rebuild where fans had to wait 8 to 10 years. It all happened so fast. 1 minute, the Pistons were tying the NBA record for the most consecutive losses. The next minute, they look like real championship contenders. So what has changed? To really understand how crazy this season has been, we have to go back to how bad things were. And for the Detroit Pistons, bad doesn't even begin to describe it. 2 years ago, the franchise hit rock bottom. In the 2023-2024 season, they went through a brutal 28-game losing streak. That's right, 28 straight losses. I haven't seen somebody take that many back-to-back L's since Meek Mill. It tied the NBA for the longest single losing streak ever, and every night felt heavier than the last. I mean, you could see it on the players' faces. They were tired of losing. At one point, Cade Cunningham was coming off the court in tears. That's how low these guys got.
Not 2-26 bad. You know what I mean?
They finished the season with 14 wins and 68 losses, the worst record in franchise history. For a team with championship banners and real history, this sucked. The noise around them was also non-stop. Fans and even analysts were saying the same thing. Let's blow it all up, trade the young guys, and start another rebuild. Most people thought that the core wasn't good enough, that their timeline was broken, that the only way forward was to move some of the youth players for veterans and try to look respectable again. But inside the locker room, people didn't feel that way. Even in the middle of that 14-win disaster, they felt like they were building something. The young guys went through it together. Jaylen Duren, their young center, talked about that season in a way you wouldn't expect. He said as embarrassing as the 28-game losing streak was, he never wanted out. And he believed that those losses brought the players together more. They were now brothers.
I mean, we just been staying together. You know, like I said, we've been through a lot of adversity as a team, and the message has always been to stay together, don't jump off the boat. Everybody was against us, but you know, if we stay together, we're going to get something done.
Like, even though these guys were losing by 20 on a regular basis, they didn't see themselves as a hopeless team. They were a young team that needed more experience. They were a team that didn't know how to win yet. I mean, I could tell they only won 14 games. But that bond that they built through all those losses ended up becoming the foundation for everything we're seeing today. Now, the turnaround didn't happen in just one single jump. There was a big middle step between the 14-win disaster and the powerhouse we're watching right now. After an embarrassing season, the owner, Tom Gores, had seen enough. He made a bold move and fired head coach Monty Williams, even though it was going to eat him around $65 million. I mean, is there a better job than being an NBA coach? You can be ass at your job and your payout is still guaranteed. Now, firing Monty sent a clear message. Things were changing. The Pistons wanted a new direction, a new vision. And in the 2024-2025 season, you could feel it. Led by Cade Cunningham, the Pistons shocked a lot of people. They exploded. After winning 14 games the year before, they finished the next season with 44 wins. A 30-game jump. That's right, I can do quick math. It was one of the biggest single-season turnarounds for a team that had fewer than 20 wins the year before. Suddenly, Detroit were back in the playoffs for the first time since 2019. They came in as the number 6 seed and matched up against the Knicks. Now, this series was intense. Both teams very physical, very gritty, and the Pistons, they competed hard, but you could tell that they were still learning. Playoff basketball was new to them. It was slower, tougher, way more detail-oriented. In the end, the Knicks won in 6, with Game 6 actually being a very tight 116-113 game. But it was a great learning experience, because for the first time, the young Pistons understood what playoff intensity actually feels like. They realized how small the margins are between winning and going home. And now that they had officially climbed out of the NBA basement, where all the ass teams gather around together, they wanted more. Now, if you're looking for the real brains behind the 2025-2026 Pistons team, it starts with Trajan Langdon. When he took over as the president of basketball operations in the summer of 2024, he had a lot of ideas. Reportedly, he walked into his first meeting with the owner with a full 15-page plan on how to fix the franchise. I mean, talk about being detail-oriented. Fast forward to the summer of 2025, right after that playoff loss to the Knicks, and the Pistons had cap space. They had assets. Now, most executives in that spot go star hunting. They try and get a big name, make a big trade to make headlines. Langdon did the opposite. He stayed very patient. Instead of chasing a superstar, he bet on the young core. Guys like Cade Cunningham, Jaylen Duren, Thompson. He saw their chemistry building, and he didn't want to mess up with a ball-dominant veteran who might change the dynamic. So his plan was to keep the foundation strong and build on top of that. Now Langdon did make a bold move, and that was trading Jaden Ivey. To a lot of people, it might have not made sense. Ivey was a young, athletic, explosive player. He also fit the current timeline. So why move him during a rebuild? But this move was more about fit and money. Detroit sent Ivey to the Chicago Bulls for Kevin Huerter. So why did they do it? Because this trade was about long-term flexibility. Ivey was heading towards restricted free agency, and his cap hold was coming. Cade was already on a max contract, Duren was about to get paid, Thompson's payday's coming too. So the Pistons couldn't afford to pay everyone, especially for someone who wasn't a perfect fit next to Cade. So Langdon cleared the backcourt logjam before it became a financial problem. Meanwhile, Chicago took on an injured Ivey, who barely plays because he's dealing with a knee issue. Meanwhile, Detroit, on the other hand, simplified their rotation and gave minutes to Dennis Jenkins, who's been a much better fit and way cheaper. It was the smart move. Now, with the young core locked in and the cap sheet cleaner, Langdon focused on adding the right veterans. The Pistons had lost guys like Dennis Schroeder, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Malik Beasley. So, Langdon targeted experience and players with high basketball IQ. He brought in Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert. Robinson, of course, brings shooting, and he has finals experience, from his Miami Heat days. He understands spacing and knows what it feels like to play in playoff pressure. Meanwhile, LeVert gives the team versatility off the bench. He's someone who can handle the ball, he can score, he can settle things down. They also brought back Tobias Harris, J. Cole. As much as people want to hate on this guy, he knows how to be a veteran, and he's been solid all season. In February alone, he averaged around 11 points and nearly 7 rebounds a game. He even had a career-high 6 steals and an overtime win over Cleveland. But Tobias Harris is somebody whose value goes beyond the stats. He's showing the young guys how to prepare. Like I said, whether you love or hate this guy, I know a lot of Sixers fans hate him because of how much money he earned while being useless in the playoffs. The experience he has is so useful to this young Pistons team. He knows what it feels like to be in a big postseason game. And that's why a lot of the players have appreciated what Tobias brings. Now, if there's one move that might sting a little bit, it's losing Fontecchio. He was sent to Miami in the trade that brought Duncan Robinson to Detroit. Now, Robinson has helped a lot with spacing and leadership, but Fontecchio's absence has been noticeable because the guy started on fire with the Miami Heat, pun intended, putting up nearly 14 points per game and shooting close to 60% from 3 early in the season. More importantly, Detroit never really replaced what he gave them, which was size, shooting, and a true backup forward option. Now, behind Tobias Harris, the Pistons are asking rookie Ron Holland and veteran Javonte Green to play bigger roles in the front court. Now, I want to make this very clear. Fontecchio isn't someone that's going to hurt the Pistons badly. It's just a small ripple effect from the trade. Now, having a plan is one thing. Having a coach that can bring it to life is another. That's why Langdon handed the job to JB Bickerstaff. Now, Bickerstaff came in with a strong reputation. He had done great work with the Cavs. He has strong relationship with the players and is excellent at developing young players. So right away, he knew what he had to change. The Pistons weren't trying to become some flashy team. They didn't want to become the three-point heavy team that tries to copy everybody else. This is Detroit. They have their own identity that matches the city. They have always been the team that is tough, physical, and very hardworking. So Bickerstaff looked at the history. The bad boys from the late 80s. The going to work team from the early 20s. The Pistons had always succeeded when they focused on defense, grit, and having that edge. And that's what he brought back. It's why people call his team the new bad boys. Because guys like Cade, Duren, Thompson, and Isaiah Stewart especially are just battling. They're wrestling in every play. They're playing through contact. They're competing so hard. So while the rest of the league focuses on launching 43s a night and spreading the floor as wide as possible, Detroit chose a different path. They attack the paint. They own the interior. And they make life miserable for you on defense. The stats all prove this. The Pistons are one of the best defensive teams in the league this season. They're towards the top for defensive rating, for opponent field goal percentage at the rim, for loose balls recovered, and for opponent turnover rate. These guys contest everything. They dive on the floor for loose balls, they force mistakes. If you do not match their physicality, you are cooked. When teams score under 112 points against them, they're holding their opponents to just 109.7 points per game, which ranked 4th in the entire league. That's their identity, and because of that culture shift, Bickerstaff was named the head coach of the Eastern Conference for the 2026 All-Star Game. 2 years ago, this franchise was drowning in losses. Now they're the ones setting the tone for the entire conference. Now, while the defense gives Detroit its foundation, it's Cade Cunningham that's given them their ceiling. He went from a promising player on a bad team to a real MVP candidate, and he's one of the biggest reasons why the Pistons are at the top of the East. This team can only go as far as Cade can take them, and right now, he's taking them very far. At one point, JB Bickerstaff called Cade the One, comparing him to Neo from The Matrix. And the reason he did that is because Cade plays like everything slows down for him. He balls out like he has permanent post-nut clarity. He came into the season prepared. Reportedly, over the offseason, he added more muscle. He worked on flexibility with yoga. He even trained in mixed martial arts to deal with the physical grind of being the guy every single night. And you're seeing the results of his hard work. He's been the best player on the best team in the Eastern Conference. And he isn't just scoring, he's also guarding the other team's best perimeter players while running the entire offense. I mean, he's averaging about 25 points per game. He's averaging almost 10 assists per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, shooting 46% from the field and 80% from the free throw line. He even had a stretch back in November where he averaged 27.5 points and 9.3 assists per game, earning him the Eastern Conference Player of the Month. He's also been one of the best clutch players in the league. When the game is tight and the pressure is high, it's like this guy gets calmer. He ranks near the top of the NBA in clutch points and clutch assists. In clutch minutes, he's shooting over 53% from the field and nearly 86% from the line. He's also scoring while barely giving the ball over. He's always in control. Isaiah Stewart at one point said that even when the game gets tight, the team feels safe when Cade has the ball. You saw it in action against the Knicks on the road in February. He dropped 42 points with 13 assists and 8 rebounds in a tough physical win. Then a few days later in Mexico City against Dallas, he got 24 points and a career-high 18 assists. This is a guy who's not afraid of the big moment or the big stage. He plays with zero fear. It's funny, 2 years ago, he was walking off the court after his 25th straight loss fighting back tears. Now he's leading one of the best teams in basketball and making a real case as one of the best players in the league. Now if Cade Cunningham is the brain of the team, Jaylen Duren is the muscle. At just 22 years old, this guy has taken a huge leap. He's now a first-time All-Star and a serious candidate for Most Improved Player. This is another player who 2 years ago was a part of a 14-win team. Now he looks like one of the most dominant young centers in the league. He's the clear number 2 scoring option, and when teams try to trap or double Cade on the perimeter, Duren makes them pay. Whether it's a lob or a putback, he just lives in the paint. He's averaging 18 points per game, almost 11 rebounds per game, shooting 63.4% from the field. It's crazy efficiency. He's not somebody who's forcing shots, he just focuses on finishing everything around the rim. And he's had some monster games. Against OKC, he dropped 29 points and grabbed 15 rebounds. A few nights later against Cleveland, he got 33 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 blocks in an overtime win. He even put up 33 in that Mexico City game against Dallas. When he gets rolling, it feels like there's nothing you can do about it. His mentality is simple. Nobody's gonna outwork him. Nobody is gonna be tougher than him. So every night, his goal is to hit first, play harder, and just control the paint. Now Cade sets the ceiling and Duren brings the muscle, but Thompson, he's that X factor. He might not lead the team in scoring, but he's the type of player who completely changes how the game feels. I don't know what they feed the Thompson twins, but both of these guys are crazy.
Nah, in reality, I feel like I'm just more of a winner, and he's just saying nonsense. You can look at the NBA wins, see who has more wins, but
after dealing with a scary blood clot diagnosis that cut short his previous season, Ausar came back fully healthy and locked in for the 2025-2026 season. And you can see his hunger. His teammates joke that he practically lives in the arena because that's how seriously he takes the game. You know how some people get on fire offensively? Well, Thompson does the same thing, but on the defensive end. He's averaging nearly 2 steals per game, ranking near the top of the league. He's piled up over 100 steals and 40 blocks already this season. For a wing, that's elite numbers. Now the great thing about him is he doesn't just gamble for the highlights. He's somebody who refuses to die on screens. He stays in front of the ball handlers. He's always rotating from the weak side and cutting off driving lanes. He makes life so uncomfortable for the opposition. Whenever he plays at least 27 minutes, Detroit usually win those games. His ability to fight through screens means the defense doesn't have to overhelp. They can stay 5-on-5 instead of scrambling, and that keeps everything solid. But Thompson provides more than just defense. Look at his performance against Oklahoma City. He got 11 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and was a plus 15 in 28 minutes. His impact goes way beyond the box score though. He guards the other team's best wing every night. He blows up passing lanes. He creates transition opportunities. Yeah, he's still working on his jumper, but people should be happy that that part of his game still needs development because he can easily turn into a true two-way star. He's already Detroit's Swiss Army knife, someone who can do a little bit of everything. So while Cade and Duren might steal the headlines, Thompson is such a valuable piece to this team. Because when he's locked in, you can see it in every possession. Now on top of all this, every team needs an enforcer. Somebody that sets the tone physically. And for the Pistons, that guy is Isaiah Beef Stew Stewart. Everybody already knows about this guy. In every single NBA fight video, he's a common ingredient. He talks his talk, he bumps into players, he contests everything. It's no surprise that people compare him to Ben Wallace. Stewart is listed at 6'8", which is technically undersized for a center, just like Wallace was. But both of them play way bigger than their height. They play with a chip on their shoulder and they take pride in defending. Among players who've defended at least 150 shots at the rim this season, Stewart is only allowing 42.7% shooting. Those are elite numbers. Then on top of that, he's averaging 1.7 blocks per game and contesting nearly 10 shots a night. If you drive to the paint and you see this guy, you are going to think twice. He's genuinely one of the best defensive players in the league, and he takes every defensive matchup as a personal battle. He's trying to crush the opposition's confidence, and that's the mentality that the Pistons fans want to see. Now, what also really defines Stewart is how protective he is of his teammates. And yeah, sometimes he crosses the line. He's been suspended multiple times in his career. Everybody remembers that moment with LeBron James, but there's been other altercations. He served a 7-game suspension in February of 2026 after stepping into a fight to protect Jaylen Duren during a game against Charlotte.
Chip in. Yeah, there he is. Look at me, look at me.
That's the risk with Isaiah Stewart. Because he's always on edge, you're going to get some of this stuff too. But him being such a good competitor is what makes Detroit so strong. Isaiah's loyalty and willingness to stand up for his teammates gives the Pistons their identity. Now, when you're a team sitting at the top, you're gonna have some big moments. And this Pistons team has already delivered plenty. Their highlight was a 13-game winning streak early in the season. From late October into November, Detroit basically couldn't lose. They tied a franchise record for consecutive wins. During that stretch, they legit looked unstoppable. Their defense was suffocating. Cade was closing games. Duren was dominating the paint. And teams just had no answers for this organization. The streak unfortunately ended in a tight loss to Boston, but even in that defeat, Cade dropped 42 points and nearly forced overtime at the buzzer. So even though they lost, it didn't feel like a setback. It showed that this team was ready to compete at the highest level. As the season has pushed on further, it's very clear that Detroit are the best team in the East. They've been elite at home and just as tough on the road. They're also not just sneaking by teams, they're beating them quite convincingly. And more importantly, their style, which is good defending, being physical, clutch shot making, is something that works in any arena, in any month, in any situation. So this isn't just a team being good in the regular season, they have the qualities to make some real noise in the playoffs. For years, Little Caesars Arena felt quiet. They kept losing over and over again and the fans were tired. Now though, the building feels alive. You see Isaiah Stewart throwing his body around like a modern day Ben Wallace. You see Duren attacking rebounds with that old school Pistons edge. You see Cade controlling the game late. This is one of the fastest turnarounds we've seen in years. The Pistons are no longer the league's punching bag, they're the team that nobody wants to see when it matters the most.